Hello, and I just realized that my little notification thing here needs to be updated. My little sign there is never any failure. Oh, well, I can't put all those letters there, so we'll go with that one. There is no failure instead of there's never any failure. There's only a delay in results. That's what I want to talk about today. My name's Carolyn, and I own a publishing company called Words for Winning. And I publish my own books. I teach people how to win sweepstakes. I republish out of print works. So far, my first author, by request, was Helene Hadsell. She asked me to maintain her library. And once I started doing her books, and when I say library, I mean her personal, what she wrote, not the actual book she owned. And maybe the word would be catalog. Anyway, and then I started doing Tag Powell's because I met him. He was actually Helene's second publisher. And I have a mountain of laundry to fold, and let's multitask because, let's face it, folding laundry is boring, and this is way more fun than watching TV. So this is what I'd rather do. But I wanted to talk about this today because I had someone message me, and they really didn't like Helene Hadsell's famous quote, "There is never any failure, only a delay in results," because it feels very shame-based and it feels not grounded in reality. And I said, so I wrote a long message back. And the thing is, I can see where they would think that it is full of shame and you have to just never fail and never give up. And I said, well, Helene nearly died a couple of times, and she had surgeries, several surgeries, and two of her children predeceased her. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's, more happened in her life. Just because we're a positive person, we're not opted out of the challenges of life. That doesn't, we're all here to learn and grow, and we're all on a soul contract, and there's no getting out of that. That's the human journey, and you get that. Doesn't matter what your station is in life, rich, poor, tall, short, fat, thin, man, woman, everybody. We're here to grow our souls. That's what we came down for. That was the challenge. And I mean, the clue is in the title of her book, the Name It and Claim It game, right? You got to play it like it's a game, but the game isn't always fun. And that was the point I was trying to make, that sometimes you've got sad parts and grief parts and frustration parts and angry parts. I mean, the subtitle of her third book, the Confessions of an 83-Year-Old Sage, was The Glad, Sad, and Mad of Life, because she knew that you just can't pretend everything's okay all the time. I think Winston Churchill said, when the tough get going, or no, it wasn't quite that. I'm going to butcher this quote. When it's hell, keep going, something like that. Basically, when it's tough, you just keep going, because that's the human journey. We don't get out of this world without any challenges. I mean, that's the whole point of being incarnated, isn't it? Oh my gosh, how did I end up with so many loads and I didn't fold any of them before now? And I have to dump one out because I don't have a basket to put anything in. Okay, that's what I get for just keep doing the wash without folding any of it. Anyway, so I was a little concerned because this person thought you're supposed to high vibe and be positive all the time, and if something doesn't work out right away, you're supposed to just keep going. And I said to her, well, Helene and I have quit at things, but what no failure means, okay? What having there's no failure, only a delay in results is, my big example for Helene was she wanted her books translated into multiple languages. She wanted her books made available. At the time it was CDs, but she wanted an audiobook. And she never saw those goals fruish in her lifetime. And she wanted, so actually she saw a part of one. She gave the Name It and Claim It game to a Silva instructor that was Hungarian, and he translated it to Hungarian, but he's no longer selling it, and I'm going to redo it. I talked to him. He's still alive, but he has Parkinson's, but I sent him the updated editions. He thought they were great. So I'm completing it. So she had set out a goal for herself, and there was so much momentum in those goals that they're fruition. So there is no failure, just a delay in results, right? She had a lot of goals. She never stopped writing. And two of her books, so how publishing used to work is the first book, she had a publishing company, The Divorce and Company, and then it was redone by Top of the Mountain. But how they would do it in those days is they'd print like 5,000 copies and then get it into bookstores and all these kind of things. And bookstores, by the way, all those books are on consignment. So they buy thousands of books, and then you have to just hope they don't get returned. Yeah, it's crazy how the bookstores work. And you need a distributor, and there's all these different things. I worked with that with my first book. So they would print, say, 5,000 copies of the Name It and Claim It game. Oh, I'll answer your question in a second about Helene's expecting. But I want to keep on this train of thought. So they would print these books and sell them in bookstores or take them to author events, various things. And then when they would run out, they'd print another batch. That's how it used to work. Okay? And so her books would get out of print. That's why the first edition of the Name It and Claim It game, there's several print runs, and sometimes you'll see the picture change on the back, and it'll say, third printing, fourth printing. It says that right in the front cover copy. So then she did In Contact with Other Realms and had a printing company do them up. And so both those books had ISBNs because they were actually printed and put into stores. Her last two books, she printed herself. She just went to a printer and printed them up. And so that was Confessions of an 83-Year-Old Sage and a Man Called Friday. So unless you knew her and mailed her, I think it was like $12, and she would sign a book and send it back to you. And that's how you'd get them. So technically, the second edition of each book that I've done, they were never available to the public at large at the scale they are now, which is kind of amazing that she did that. Now, so that's what I was saying. Okay, so now you were asking about Helene's approach to expecting. So I'll read this out loud because I know I'm going to share this on other platforms and they won't have the question. How did Helene approach expect? Did she visualize a lot? So here's how I came to explain it. Okay? Select it. You have to be very specific about what you want. If you go to my website, I just did a blog post on this today, and it's called Your Manifestations May Be in Disguise. Because I was manifesting something, and it took me a week to realize I manifested exactly what I was saying. But it didn't look anything like I thought it would. And it took me a week, and I went, oh my gosh, I got exactly what I asked for. I was still excited, but I couldn't believe it took me a week. So be very specific about what you're asking for. So there's a good example of I was specific, or I thought I was specific. I got what I was asking for, but I didn't even recognize it. And then it took me a week and I was like, oh, and I did a video, of course, to share. Because that's the point, right? This is how we all learn. We learn from each other. And we learn from experiences. And then we share. So be very specific. Project it is the visualization part. Seeing yourself having it. What do you want? You want a new car. You might see yourself driving a new car. You can practically smell that new car smell. You can feel the steering wheel in your hands. You can imagine yourself washing it on the weekends, shining up the chrome bumper. I'm just being a little bit exact. Does anybody have chrome bumpers anymore? It's vintage cars, but you know what I'm saying. You can also, some people have aphasia, so there's lots of ways to do this. You can journal. You can create vision boards. You can do voice talking, you can use the voice recorder part of your phone and kind of do a voice journal. And I recommend there's a fun book called The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. And it's by Andrew Kapp. Now what's funny is he just made the title his whole book cover. His name's not even on the cover of the book. Everyone's like, how can you write a book without your name on the cover? That's a really weird thing about the author, right? Anyway, so that is a good book. And the reason I'm recommending that book, and I don't think it's very expensive either, because I bought it myself. I read it. I had Andrew on my podcast. And you can go watch that. I got to have him on again. Anyway, he's brilliant. And what he does in those books is he gets you to do different scripting exercises. There's, I think, 3 of them. And one of them that I always think is the funnest, is that a word? Is doing the remember when. And I don't think he's the only one to teach this method, but it's the one that comes to top of mind for me from him. And basically you journal, or you can speak it. You're remembering. It's kind of like remembering a future event. Just like you think of a past event, you can remember a future event. That's the idea. So for example, say I want to win another trip, because I'm also the contest queen and I teach people how to win giveaways, and I love to travel. So my number one thing that I like to win are trips. Now I have won 23 trips. I thought I won 25. That's what my whole blog post is about. Spoiler alert. And I turned around and, oh my gosh, so many socks. So I turned around and, oh my gosh, now I just lost my train of thought. 25. Oh yeah. So I'm at 23, but I want to win I got to win 24 and then 25. So I said to Jor, we went on number 23 and it's freezing. We had a freezing weekend. It was so cold. We only enjoyed half the weekend because we had a half a day to wander around the town, but it was so cold. We didn't even want to go anywhere. Just walking from the hotel to dinner, my feet were so frozen. I said, that's it. I'm taking an Uber back. I couldn't even walk back. It was so cold. When you're sucking air and you can't, and it hurts your lungs and your nose. Yeah, it was too cold. So we didn't go and enjoy the city. So I said to him, okay, the next trip that I win, it's going to be to somewhere warm. So now what I could do with that scripting exercise, or the remember, is I could talk to you as if I had already won it. So I'd be like, do you remember when? So I've been talking to George. Do you remember when we won that trip to, where do I want to go? I could just say the Caribbean. And I could just pick a place. Where do I want to go? I want to go to Mexico. Or I want to go to Jamaica. Or actually, I saw a contest recently for a trip to Las Vegas, and one of his bucket list items is to see the Grand Canyon. So if we want a trip to Las Vegas, we could go to the Grand Canyon. That would be very exciting. Because I went to the Grand Canyon when I was a kid. I was 9. That's a hot minute ago. So that would be really cool to experience that again as an adult. I will answer your question in a second, Keister. So you could remember, so I could say stuff like, George, do you remember when we went that trip to Las Vegas? Oh my God, I can't believe it. And I was so sneaky. I booked that helicopter trip from Las Vegas to the Grand Canyon, and it was like VIP treatment. And we were so lucky because that was the only thing I had to pay for, because the entire trip was paid for. I can't believe we got to go for a whole 5 days. It was so amazing. And we picked the perfect time of year. Not too hot, not too cold, still warm enough to go in the pool, not so hot that we were, melting like a popsicle when we went outside. The food was fantastic. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we went to that steakhouse. It was so good. And you just talk about it as if it already happened, because you can easily talk about a memory you had in the past. So why can't we talk about a memory in the future? Because there's no time, doesn't actually exist. So, and your brain doesn't know what you're imagining versus what's reality. And Jack Canfield always gave the example of a lemon. No, he was the one that did the imagining. Like he would do this at his, like when he did in-person events. So he'd have the whole audience stand up. I did this once with him. It's crazy because you feel out of sorts. And I didn't forget your question, Keister. So you stand up at one of his events. He has the entire audience stand up. And he says, okay, I want everybody to close their eyes. So everybody closes their eyes. And you're standing there. And he says, okay, now I want you to imagine that you're on a board. And it's secured to the ground. So you're not going to fall. It's not going to tip. It's strong. But you're on a board. And it's at the edge of the Grand Canyon. And it's hanging out about 6 feet. He says, I want you to start walking out in your mind. Don't actually physically move. Just in your mind, walk out to the edge of the board and look down. People were physically falling over. People were kind of like, you could hear kind of they're standing in a hotel convention hall. But their brain doesn't know that. So the other one that I heard, and I can't remember who does it, is the lemon. Close your eyes, hold a lemon in your hands, feel it, smell it. Try and take a bite of it. Your saliva glands start going. You're puckering up. You're not holding a lemon. You were imagining it. So if you can do those two, who says you can't imagine the new job? Actually, when I do the Silva method with Stephen Dobosh, he tells a story of how he envisioned his perfect job. And when he got the perfect job, with the way he described it initially, he got it. He didn't like it because he wanted a certain space. He wanted a certain environment. He wanted a certain title. He wanted certain responsibilities. And he was like, yeah, this isn't what I want. He got exactly what he asked for, but it wasn't what he wanted. So then he's like, okay, what do I want to feel? I want to feel empowered. I want to make change. I want to do this. So, no, Keister, hang on. I'm just finishing the story and then I'll get to you. And no, actually, I teach it for free. If you go to contestqueen.com, my other website, you can scroll down and click on 5 steps to begin winning. And I walk you through, and I'm going to walk you through those in a second. And then he ended up writing out how he wanted to feel every day when he woke up and when he went to work, and who he wanted to connect with, and how he wanted his customers to feel, and how he wanted his fellow coworkers to feel like when he presented something or they were engaged, and basically lifting everybody up. And then he got that job. Right? Because he wasn't looking at the right thing. So sometimes this is, again, name it and claim it game. It's a game. So now, if you want to learn how to win sweepstakes, I better keep folding laundry, or I'm going to just talk and not have anything done. And this pile is big. It's like 2 baskets. And I think, I don't know, there's got to be 5 loads of wash here? That's not good. Usually I fold it as I go. I don't know what happened this week. And this shirt isn't wanting to fold properly at all. It is just giving me it's not sticking. And yes, I fold like I was in a store because as I went through college, I did years of retail. And so now everything, I fold it like I work there. Because that is how I did it for years. And now I can't stop that habit. Anyway, so there's the 3 steps that I always tell people to start winning. Even though on my website it says 5 steps, I'll explain them all. So the first one is get an email address just for entering sweepstakes. Okay? And, you know, you can use any of the free sites, but I recommend Gmail because it has the least amount of problems receiving notifications. And then the second one is use a sweepstakes site. Like the key, one of the big keys to winning is to enter the most amount of giveaways in the shortest amount of time. Not rocket science, right? So if you use a sweepstakes site, I call them sweepstakes aggregates because they have aggregated all the sweepstakes into one space, making it easy for you to find them. So there's 2 different trains of thought here. There's many free sites like Sweepstakes Fanatics. I just heard about Ultra Contests, which, you know, I'm talking to them now because I want to interview them, maybe have them on my podcast. I'm very excited to find there's a new site. Okay. This has just been demoted to a work shirt for George. You notice I folded it different because his work shirt's going to a different drawer. Anyway, so you want to use a sweepstakes aggregate. So there's Fanatics, Sweepstakes Today, Sweepstakes Advantage. Like you can just poke around the internet, find all kinds of free sites. Of course, if you go to my website under resources, one of my 2025 goals is to completely redo Contest Queen, move some of the most used resources up to the front, all this stuff. But I just didn't have the funds to redo a site because I have so many resources. It's fairly expensive to do it. But this year I do have them. Yay! So we are going to give that lady a makeover because she needs a severe overhaul. Anyway, and then the other thought is, so the reason free is good is because you're getting your feet wet. Because what you want to look for when you're entering, so we're still on point 2, by the way, remember, you are going to look for, when you're entering a sweepstakes, several things to make sure you can enter. First of all, are you eligible to enter? So you have to look, is it open to your country, your state, your area? You know, I've seen some shrunk down to area code on phone numbers, like if they only want a certain area code. So there's all kinds of sometimes restrictions. So you have to read. This is why my third tip is always read the official rules, because you don't want to disqualify yourself, because that just wastes your time, wastes the sponsor's time. Like, that's not good for anybody. Okay, we don't want to do that. So you want to make sure you're eligible to enter. The second thing you're looking for is frequency. How often can you enter? Okay, is it daily? Is it one time per person? Is it one time per household? Is it one time per person per day, per week? Right? You have to find frequency. And then sometimes there's platform. Like you'll find some companies do what they should, and that's put official rules on their website, but you're actually entering on Instagram or something like that. And that's actually really good. I wish more companies would do that. They're getting better at putting proper rules on Instagram, but not, you tend not to find Instagram giveaways a lot on these aggregate sites. They tend to focus on the bigger giveaways, and social media giveaways are kind of like the last thing you enter when you're entering. So that's you're reading the rules to find out if you can do that. And then the last thing you're looking for is, when does it end? Because sometimes you find them at the end, and it's you want to make sure it hasn't expired yet. Like if you go onto my TikTok, I have a whole, and this is embarrassing, an entire series of silly sweepstakes mistakes. Things that a seasoned sweeper has done, and I just shake my head at, I'm like, how did I do that? So those are the things you want to do for that. And then the third point, like I said, is read the official rules. The other 2 points are kind of like my plugs. You know, go sign up for my newsletter. I send out, and I haven't been blogging as much as I should on Contest Queen. I've been doing more on Words for Winning. So there's a weekly email that gets out if I blogged anything, but I haven't blogged in a while, so that hasn't been going out. Twice a month, I send out a newsletter with different topics. And I finally, as part of the website redo, I used to have all my newsletters up there, like back to 2008. But like, let's face it, who's reading that? So I just put the last year and a bit. So you can read, if you go under, I think about, scroll down, or is it under resources? It's under resources. And you can go back to the archives of the Winning Edge, and you can read about different topics and different things that are happening. And I've put 2024 and 2025 there. So you can there's just a few. Then of course I've been blogging for Dog's Age. So I have all these things on my site. And then, but how did I become the Contest Queen? Well, I win a crap ton. So I've just passed like $400,000 in cash and prizes. I won trip number 23. I thought I won trip number 25. And I've written 3 books on it. So my first edition, I have the Canadian and American edition of You Can't Win If You Don't Enter. And you can go read samples. I've been updating all the samples on my website and adding covers. I've got 5 more left to do. But every book I've done has a free PDF sample. So you can get like an introduction. You can get some links, things like that. So that's what I'm doing there. Okay, this is better here. So I have You Can't Win If You Don't Enter. And then I came out with How to Win Cash, Cars, Trips, and More. So you can go read the intro to that one. It's close to the first one, but a little bit different. And I'm currently writing Prizes Everywhere. So that'll be my 3rd sweepstakes book. But I also have done all of Helene Hadsel's books. So her books are The Name It and Claim It Game. And she did In Contact with Other Realms, Confessions of an 83-Year-Old Sage. And then in her 80s, because she was bored, she decided she was going to learn how to write fiction, took a course, and wrote A Man Called Friday. Like, this woman never stopped. I always admire her. So that's what she wrote. And then I ended up meeting her second publisher, and he was impressed with what I did. And he was also an author. So I bought 10 of his books and 5 audio series. So 1 audio series is up. I got to check with my web guy to see where that is. I want Master Keys to Persuasion, the 2nd audio series, to come out. So that'll be out there. And I've already republished Money in You, and Instant Money is also an audio that's available. Then I have, and I'm working right now on the Spanish edition of Confessions of an 83-Year-Old Sage, the German, French, and Italian editions of The Name It and Claim It Game. I just finished my 4th Audible. I've got to work on my next Audible. Like, there's a lot of balls in the air. And no, I've not won PCH, because if you go to PCH and look at the odds, it's 1 in like 6.5 billion. You're better off buying the Powerball. One of the keys to winning is to enter best odds sweepstakes. And that I didn't get to that point before. So the other train of thought is to use a sweepstakes aggregate that you pay for, because, you know, the internet is maybe free for you to use, but it's not free for us to run, right? Like, I have to pay for web hosting. I have to pay my email server service. I have to pay for my webmaster. I have to pay, like, I use Canva. I pay for that. I use Zoom. I pay for that. You know, like, it's not free for the people running the internet and running these websites. So, hang on. Oh, laundry's drifting over there. So one of the thoughts is that when you're paying for a subscription to one of these newsletters, you're supporting that sponsor or the creator, and they have the funds then to maintain their website and keep everything up and keep updating and keep adding resources. So some of the paid ones that are very popular are Sweepstakes Plus, Sweepstakes Plus, Sweetie's Secret Sweeps, Sweep Sheet, and iWin Contest are the two most popular paid sites. So there's different thoughts, and you can just buy just a couple of months. Like, you don't have to. And then also every month, if you want to get a real taste of what it's like, every month I give away a sweepstakes masterclass. So if you go to contestqueen.com and click on CQ giveaways, or scroll down, it's right on the home page. I give it away. It runs from the 2nd of every month to about the 15th. It depends on the month. And I give away a class, and I give away 25 like seats, and it runs by Zoom. And I even put the date and time that I'm running it. And anybody in the world can join. So it's open to everybody, right? And when I pick all the winners, I just send the Zoom link. Like, I don't even, you know, I don't follow up. Like, I'm not chasing you. You're responsible to find it and come to the event, because that's actually part of the hobby. You're supposed to be checking for winning notifications every day. I got a notification. I got a call from a radio station today, and I won a prize to go to listen to a conversation. VIP, we get to meet them. I'm not going to spoil it. You have to wait, because of course I'm going to make a video. Yes, I did list some sweepstakes sites that weren't free. That were free. So, listen, that are not free. Yeah, so that would be, like I said, Sweetie's Secret Sweeps, if iWin Contest Sweep Sheet. If you go to contestqueen.com and look under resources for sweepstakes aggregates, or just in the search, just put aggregate, you'll get my whole list, and you can poke around and look at all of them and see which one you like. And they're different formats. Some are like blogs, some are like forums, some are like, you know, there's different ones. You know, I can't tell you which one you're going to like. One of the reasons iWin Contest is so popular is he has a Discord group, and he has a lot of texting giveaways. Sweepstakes Plus is very popular because it has an entire social media section. A lot of people like the social media giveaways. So you have to go and see what the options are and see which one you wanna use to determine. But go and enter for my free sweepstakes class. It doesn't cost anything to go and enter. And I've had people win more than once. Like, I do it every month. And so you can, I don't discriminate. I use Rafflecopter, and I just pick names. I send out an email. and we see who shows up. And then if you can't come, I'll send you the link to the next month. I've had that happen where somebody's, they're like, oh my gosh, I was just scheduled to go into work. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry. The life happens, right? Like, it's that kind of a prize. It's not like a concert where there's no other. Go to contestqueen.com and scroll down it says win a masterclass right on the homepage. So you're welcome to do that. But I came on Words for Winning. How ironic. I'm talking all my Contest Queen stuff. And I wanted to talk about Helene Hadsel and why it's not a failure. And also, one of the things that's misquoted, and I believe it was her first publisher that did this, because honestly, it sells way more books, saying that she won every prize. But here's the problem. She didn't win every contest she entered. She won every prize she desired. So I gave this example to somebody, and I said, well, if she decided she wanted to win a car, she would find every car giveaway that was going on right at the moment, and she would enter them, and she would win a vehicle, but she didn't win 12 of them. She won one of them. But she entered 12. I'm just making up numbers. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, she entered multiple to win one, because she wanted a car and she entered all the car giveaways. So she won every prize she desired, not every giveaway she entered. Right? So, because she was focusing her energy on that specific prize. Now, she told me I split my energy because I enter everything. But also, the hobby has changed dramatically since she was entering in the 50s. Like, they used to send in so many mail-in entries to all these promotions. Well, you can't do that now the way it was. If it's one entry per person, that's it. You're sending in your text, you're typing in one. And I'm also a sweepstakes marketer, and I've worked at the back end of these giveaways. And so, they'll do something in the marketing world called a dedupe, which is basically they're removing all the duplicate entries. And it's easy to search. And if they do it on social media, if they say one entry and you think, wow, I'm just going to enter 10 times. There's so many entries, they're never going to find it. When you use a thing like WooBox, for example, to conduct a draw, or Comment Picker, or whatever program, you just click do not remove duplicate entries. They're all gone. So you thought you were smart spending time entering 10 times. Nobody will ever find it. Yeah, the computer will. So there's no cheating. There's no cheating. So it makes it better, because if it says one entry, then you just do one entry and forget about it and go on to the next contest. I mean, that's great, right? So Helene used to do that. So they used to enter mail-in. So in her day, there was only 3 kinds of giveaways. You had in person, where you'd find a box in a store and you'd fill out an entry form, or they used to call them entry blanks, and you'd fill that out and drop it in the box and hope you got called. That was it. And then the other way was the radio. So you'd be listening to the radio, you'd have to hear your name or something, and you'd have to call, sorry, not your name. You'd have to hear the cue to call in, and you'd phone in. Now, she did have the story of when she won a car, and in those days, now, see, she would be disqualified now if she didn't answer. But in those days, she had what Helene did was, you had to mail in entries, and they would draw entries, and certain days they'd call somebody back, and you had to say, like, I listen to this radio station, or they're my favorite station. And you'd have to say something like, they're my favorite station, and then you'd win the car for that week. And just to be sure, she plastered that information by the phone, because in those days it was just landline, right? And her son happened to be home. a dike, and the phone rang, and the DJ said hey, this is, we're looking. He said, she's not in right now. And he said, oh, he said something, and then he noticed the 3x5 stuck to the wall, and he repeated the words. And he says, well, tell your mom she's very lucky. She just won a car. Now, nowadays, if you did that, if you didn't answer the phone, they would draw somebody else. And they actually have that. Like my current radio station is having a text to win. So you have to listen to the radio station at certain times of the day. They give out a keyword. You type that keyword and your name into the, you text it to them, the text number they give you. Then if they call you back and you answer, you win. Okay? So that's the difference, right? They wouldn't do that now. So you have, and it says right in the rules, you have to answer your phone. And so all these people that screen their calls, they're like, I don't recognize that number. I answer every single call. I don't know who it is. And my brain works like this. Oh my God, what did I win? I always think a call that I don't recognize the number is a win from somebody. And I've even had some marked potential spam. You know how they sometimes the phone company will think it's not a proper line. Yeah, and it's a real. And I'll tell them, by the way, if you're having trouble getting people, this is why. Like if they're giving out multiple prizes, if nobody's answering their phone, I'll say, hey, by the way, I answer every call no matter what, because I know this, but many people might not. And I say to them, you might want to call the phone company to find out why your phone number is in the database of potential fraud, whatever. And I've won tickets that way, and they're like, oh, thanks for letting us know, because if I don't, who's going to tell them? So answer every call. So she only had so many ways to enter. The last way that she could enter was a mail-in. So you'd see, entry blanks in the grocery store, and you would fill it out and you would mail it in. And that was it. Now, if you watch the movie The Prize Winner of Defiance, Ohio, that is not about Helene. That is about Evelyn Ryan. The subtitle of the book, it was first a book, and oh my gosh, the book is so good. And I have to warn you, tissues, if you read the book or watch the movie, you're going to need tissues. And the stars, oh my gosh, the stars of this movie, it was Julianne Moore and Woody Harrelson. She played Evelyn Ryan. He played, what was her husband's name in that movie? Was it not, I want to say Pat, but Pat was Helene's husband. Anyway, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But it's their story. And I've actually been to the house, and I met the Affadaisies before they all passed away. It was so cool. But that's about Evelyn Ryan. I think there should be a movie about Helene one day, because I think that would be a crazy movie, because most people know her story from the Name It and Claim It game, but they don't know all the other adventures, like what happened to her when she was a teenager and all these things. Right? She's had all kinds of crazy things happen to her. So it's not just winning prizes. Her life story is just full of so many twists and turns. Like I said, she nearly died a couple of times. So she's had so many ups and downs, right? Like this is everybody's life. She nearly died in a car accident. Oh, that's not going there. I got a pile over here. She nearly died in a car accident, but she also won a house. She thought she had cancer, but she got to hang out with people like Dr. Joseph Murphy. I mean, a movie about Helene would be amazing. I know, right? Actually, I found a letter in her files, because one of the things I got in the contract when I bought the rights to her books was that I got the remains of her business files, and they were dismal because it'd been decades and there wasn't much of the paper. I got some on the computer and I got some paper. But one of the things I found was a letter that she wrote to Shirley MacLaine and then gave her a book called In Contact with Other Realms, because remember, Shirley MacLaine wrote that book. Oh my gosh, why did that just escape me? And I read it too. I read actually all her books. But Shirley MacLaine has, you know, she was the first real famous woo-woo person out there. People thought she was crazy. And now everybody's like, oh yeah. Anyway, she wanted Shirley MacLaine to play her. And at the time, that would have been perfect. But Shirley's now too old and Helene's gone. Helene, if she had been alive, she would have been 100 last year. I did a few things. I'm still waiting on the astrologer, because I want a very specific astrologer to read her chart because I think he's the best. And his name is Robert Ohado. But I've already talked to someone who did her numerology. So if you go back to last year's blog post, I show her birth chart because so many people were asking about her birth chart. And I was not comfortable sharing her birth information because it wasn't my place to do. I didn't feel like it was right. And then in 2023, I realized that 2024 was going to be her 100th. She would have been 100. And I'm like, oh, that's when to do it. To do it as a celebration. So on her 100th birthday, I did a blog post showing her birth chart. And actually, I just used astro.com. And Robert says to me, because he uses, I think, Astro Gold, he said he'll get me a better one. He said, oh, that one's not good. I'm like, well, it's up. It'll do until I get another one. So we got Astro Gold. He's going to get me one from Astro Gold. But in the meantime, people can go look at her birth chart. And I'm going to get him to read her birth chart. But I've also had somebody do her numerology. Or not so numerology, tarot, and human design. So I have those videos. You can go see those videos. And then I did blog posts about Helene, and we'll get her astrology done. Is there anything else I should do? Am I missing something? And I'm starting to slowly interview more people. I just haven't had time. I'm literally writing so many books right now and updating so many things on the website. And I haven't gotten to the tipping point yet where I can get a virtual assistant. It's going to happen this year. So send me all the vibes that I will be able to hire a virtual assistant. Because that way, things like my newsletters that have to go out all the time and my announcements and my updates, like the things that I'm doing over and over and over again, somebody can do, and then I can just write the article. I don't have to do all the formatting, right? Someone else can do the formatting. I don't need to do that. And then if I blog, then they can share it all, right? They can do the cover and they can share it for me. I don't have to do that. I should do what I do best, which is the writing part, right? And then also do the audiobooks, because that's something I have to do. Somebody else can't do that. Like, actually, I will be hiring a narrator for my next one. So I have 2 I'd like to do this year. Ooh. And I have to write the Audible versions for them, because when you hand them the script, they're just going to read what's there. So I want to do the Audible version of Money and You. So I have to write that out. And then what I decided was all the parts that I wrote, because I added to the book, Money and You, I'm going to read them. So the foreword, the afterword, the recommended reading, that kind of thing, I'm going to do. Then I'm hiring a male, because Money and You is written by Tag Powell. So when I started doing the Audible books, and I put that on my vision board in 2021, and I was starting to get quotes, and it was 1,000, like maybe 10,000 to do an Audible book. And I'm like, yeah, that's not my budget. I'll figure it out one day. Then it occurred to me that maybe I didn't have to hire like someone from ACX or a professional narrator. I got a hold. So I found, after my grandmother passed away, when we were going through all this stuff, there was all these old family films. And so I took them to a transfer place near me. And the guy has a full studio in there. He has all the transfer equipment. Like if you have film, if you have PAL, if you have, CD, like whatever it is, he can transfer it all to digital, put it on a stick. Then, so I put that there. Oh, likely spam. Well, should I answer it? Okay, I'm going to answer it. I have to, right? I'm back. Well, I did win something, but I sent out a press release about Helene's books all being on Audible now. And of course, all these companies are coming to me and saying, hey, pay us and we will do an interview and put it out on YouTube. And I'm like, They're like, have you been on TV before? And I went, yeah, I've been on like 2020 and things like that. So, and now my daughter just texted me and said she's at the station and I need to go get her from the train. So it's like, if it rains, it pours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off, and I don't know how this is going to download. I might have to edit it. Well, that's going to be interesting. That's okay. And I will come back. I need to do more lives and talk about Helene because that lady was amazing. And thanks for hanging out. I'll talk to you later. I'm hanging up like it's a phone call. Oh no, this thing's stuck. Like, ugh. Ugh.